Now, with the Spanish La Liga kicking off later today, the biggest question out there is who ends up winning the Spanish La Liga? Is it Barcelona? Would it be Real Madrid under Jose Mourinho? Or could Diego Simeone spring a surprise as he usually does and shock the field? But what about the future of Julian Alvarez? Is he staying at Atletico Madrid? Would he be happy staying at Atletico Madrid, or is he going to FC Barcelona? So we'll be delving into all those issues, transfer-related issues, some controversies that have popped up. Still Infantino in the news. Yes, the Black Stars head coaching issue is still a hot topic. Carlos Queiroz, is he going? Is he staying? Per the reports, the man has one foot out the door. You can send in your comments on 0539 986 996. Let's get chatting. So, like I said earlier, the Spanish La Liga 2026-2027 season kicks off today. And the opening game of the new season, it has Deportivo Alaves taking on Getafe at 5:30 p.m., 17:30 GMT. And then later on in the day, that's at 7:30, you have Sevilla taking on Rayo Vallecano. And so those are the two opening games in the new season of the Spanish La Liga. Later tomorrow, we'll have Racing Santander taking on Villarreal. And then there's that matchup between Espanyol and Levante. That's all in the Spanish La Liga. The opening week of the Spanish La Liga. Now, earlier this week, you had PSG end up beating Aston Villa by 2-1, I beg your pardon, to win the UEFA Super Cup. And later tomorrow, they will be involved in another trophy game. That's the Trophée des Champions in the French top division. And that's a matchup between RC Lens and PSG. Remember, RC Lens ended up winning the French Cup last season. And PSG, as usual, they ended up winning the league title last season. And so those two teams are facing off later tomorrow in more or less the French Super Cup. It's the same thing happening in England, but unfortunately, you don't have the tag Super Cup associated with the game that's going to happen tomorrow. Rather, it is the Community Shield. And that is why I always have an issue when people try to dismiss it, because at the end of the day, it is a top level trophy. It is a matchup involving the winners of the league and the winners of the FA Cup for the most part. And so you can call it the English Super Cup. You can call it the English Super Cup. So whoever ends up winning it ends up winning, in my view or in my estimation, the English Super Cup. Would it be Arsenal or would it be Manchester City tomorrow? Now, over in the Netherlands, the league that our former Black Stars captain Andre Dedayu played in or featured in last season, the second part of the 2025-2026 season. Later today, the week 2 round of games will take place. Willem will take on Nek, and then you have FC Utrecht taking on AZ Alkmaar. And at 6 p.m., the AZ Alkmaar FC Utrecht game takes place at 4:45, and then at 6 p.m. you have Excelsior taking on PSV Eindhoven, and later on at 7 p.m. you have Fortuna Sittard taking on Cambuur. More games from the Dutch Eredivisie on Sunday. On Sunday at 10:15 a.m. you have ADO Den Haag taking on FC Groningen, and then at 12:30 you have Feyenoord taking on Go Ahead Eagles, and then at 12:30 also the same time you have FC Twente taking on PEC Zwolle, and later in the day, that's at 2:45, you have Ajax Amsterdam taking on SC Heerenveen. I'm pretty sure you are aware that the English Premier League takes place or commences next week, but the EFL Championship has already started, and we had the opening round of games last week. Later today, we'll have the second round of games taking place. Some have already started, actually. Let me run through the results quickly and then give you the updates on the games that will come up later today. And so Bolton Wanderers in the early kickoff game, they beat Preston North End by 2-1. As we speak, Norwich City, they are playing against West Bromwich Albion. Score check is goalless. And then you have Stoke City taking on Swansea City. Score check, Stoke City 1, Swansea 0. Bristol City drawing goalless with Millwall as we speak. Middlesbrough trailing Lincoln City by a goal to 0. You have Charlton Athletic drawing goalless with Derby County. Portsmouth also drawing goalless with QPR, that's Queen's Park Rangers. And later in the day at 4:30 p.m. you have Sheffield United taking on Birmingham City. Now, Sheffield United, that's where former Manchester City player Calvin Phillips plies his trade these days. And Birmingham City, that's where you have Ibrahim Osman played out the second half of the 2025-2026 season before moving over to Brighton and Hove Albion. Big things expected from him later this season, because Karo Mitoma is nursing a hamstring injury that forced him to miss the 2026 FIFA World Cup for Japan. And Yankuba Minte, who has been their go-to guy on the wings, he also picked up an injury in pre-season. And so, yeah, it is very clear that Ibrahim Osman's chances of staying put at Brighton and Hove Albion this season and featuring in the English Premier League, yeah, his chances definitely look bright. But just a quick one on the English League One. I mean, these days there is interest in there because of Leicester City, the former team of Jordan Ayew, the Black Stars captain, the former team of Abdul Fattah Wishahaku. At this point, the game is already done. So Leicester City won, Notts County won, and so yes, Leicester City, their struggles continue. In preseason, later today at 2:45 to be exact, AC Milan will take on Manchester United. As far as preseason friendly games go, this is as big as it gets. Based on the recent history involving these two teams, AC Milan head coach Ruben Amorim served as Manchester United head coach just last season. Will be interesting to see how he fares, or his new team fares, against his former team. Speaking of preseason, yes, Ghana's Caleb Urenchi, he made a very strong start to his career at Coventry City. He featured in Coventry City's win over AS Monaco in the preseason game, and he registered an assist. And after the game, unsurprisingly, you had the manager of Coventry City, Frank Lampard, give him some solid words of praise and commended him for his effort. Caleb Urenchi joined Coventry City after the 2026 FIFA World Cup run with Ghana's Black Stars for a record fee of $30 million. That's a club record fee of $30 million. He joined Coventry City from FC Nordsjælland in the Danish League. Yes, he is another Right to Dream Academy product. "20 years old, big things expected from him." I believe earlier this week, Michael Essien commending him and, giving him some solid words. So Caleb Urenchi joining the ranks of Ghana Black Stars players competing in the English Premier League. Abdul Fattah Shahaku, Brandon Thomas Asante, the likes of Kudus Mohamed, the likes of Antoine Semenyo. So big expectations on Caleb Urenchi coming into this season. My colleague Manuel Angelo Kwache has joined me in the studio. Manuel, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Manuel. Any updates on Liverpool?
No, just like I said, it's all preseason. I don't really it's
you don't
important.
pay much attention to preseason.
No, I do. I think you learn what you can, but then when the season starts off, and it doesn't always follow the same pattern. So
yeah, it's a different beast, a different animal.
So I mean, just in the teams generally, I think it'll be interesting to see how some of the signings work out. For Liverpool, none of the signings have excited me yet, but I'm hoping that in the coming days before the window ends, they'll maybe get a player or two, mostly to replace Mo Salah. But if I look at the rest of the team, I think that they made a lot of investment last summer. Mm-hmm. So I can understand why this summer they're a bit more they keep the pockets a bit dry.
Are you on the Bakola train? Do you believe they should get a player like Bradley Bakola?
Well, I think Bakola is an exceptional player. The price that PSG are quoting is what's throwing me off a bit. I think that would, if it wasn't for maybe Rodgers and for Anderson, I think we'd be looking at that fee and talking about how astronomical it is. I think they're trying to probably get a better fee. If they can get under 100 million, I'd probably go for it. I'm not a believer that he solves all our problems, but I think he's an exceptionally talented footballer who probably just needs to work under a really good coach, and he can probably become a world-class player if he's given the right coaching.
Sure thing. Now, just a quick run through the players that Liverpool have bought this off-season ahead of the new season. There's Jeremy Jacquet from Stade Rennes. There's left winger Victor Munoz from Osasuna. And then there is Ronald Araujo, who joined on loan from FC Barcelona. That was quite a bit of a surprise pick coming from FC Barcelona to Liverpool. I honestly didn't expect Liverpool to be looking for a defender like Ronald Araujo. Maybe I was thinking, looking at what Arsenal have been linked with the likes of Ezri Konsa and Jarrell Kwanzaa of by Leverkusen, formerly
formerly of Liverpool.
Of Liverpool.
Yeah.
I thought they could make a U-turn and go get him, because at the end of the day, he was under a different coach, he was under a different manager, and Andoni Raiola would definitely be interested in a guy like him. But the next thing we realized, boom, FC Barcelona loaned out Ronaldo Araujo to Liverpool. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, on the Araujo deal in particular, I think there are two sides of it. I think Barcelona were trying to offload Araujo. Yeah. I think they've made a very concerted effort to reduce their wage bill, and with Lewandowski going, with them deciding not to keep Rashford, there have been a lot of advantages. I mean, a lot of good breaks for them. That's meant that they've been able to keep money.
Ferran Torres too.
Yeah, Ferran Torres too. So they've been able to sell well this summer, and that's helped them fund some of their moves. On the Liverpool side of it, I kind of understand, because they went in for Guehi. They went in for Guehi as one more defender. Missing out on Guehi is probably where Jackie comes in. And then you look at Konate, who went to Real Madrid. I don't think they were planning on keeping Konate based on his performances from last season. Mm-hmm. But I think with Konate going, that means they had an extra spot in defense that he had to replace. And Araujo was, I'd say he was available. I don't know if he's probably the best option. I don't trust his temperament. That's the main thing I don't trust within his game. But if you look at
trust his talent?
He's a good defender. He's an aggressive defender. If you look at the contrast between him and someone like Van Dijk is takes his time, doesn't necessarily always go in for the tackle. So if you have and there's also going to be a difference in how he runs at Barcelona. I think at Barcelona at this time he'd probably have been playing with Kubasi in defense, and as good as Kubasi is, him being the captain, I think he would have been the one giving more directions to Kubasi. But if you look at the situation now, it's him playing with Van Dijk, where Van Dijk is the one going to be leading the defense, and he's going to have to respond to Van Dijk's instructions. And I think that change could be good for him. I think the change in environment could be good for him. And like I keep saying, I think the fact that it's a loan could also be good for him. If it works out, if he's able to play good football, he knows that there's a chance he stays. If he comes and he does a repetition of some of the performances that he did for Barcelona in the Champions League, it would mean that Liverpool would definitely not be willing to keep him, and then he has to now go back to Barcelona and sort out his future. So I think that the onus is on him to come in and show how good a defender he can be, to show that he's not necessarily going to make rash decisions, which is what we probably fear the most from him. If he can prove that, I think there's a chance he stays, and the only way he can do that is by having a good season.
Oh, okay. But I must say, you definitely delivered an interesting perspective in the sense that he wouldn't be taxed to be the one leading the defense, and he'll be the one taking instructions from a guy like Van Dijk. And you think he can thrive in that particular role, in the sense that once you have someone leading the front and he being a little bit in the background, he will be able to thrive in that particular role. I mean, yes, I know Barcelona is a big club and there's a lot of pressure there, but Liverpool also has some strong level of criticism leveled against any other player if you do not step up. I mean, Van Dijk practically was a living god, and in the past season he wasn't playing very well, and we saw how things turned quickly.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I think I can even probably put Konate in there. But I think the thing that will help them this season is probably having cover. If you look at last season, I think Van Dijk in particular and Konate had to play most of the games throughout the whole season. And I think that had a telling effect getting towards the end of the season on the mistakes that they were making. I think there was a point where they probably had too much game time in their legs. Same with Szoboszlai. If you even go back to, I think, was it an EFL Cup game where he tried to give a back pass and he ended up just setting it up. There are times where you can, just by the fact that you are doing things constantly, so there are times where you get into autopilot, and rather than just, you rely on instincts rather than sometimes thinking through the moment. I think Araujo in particular could benefit from that relationship. And I think that if there are times where he either gets tired or he's not playing well enough, the other people within the squad, we have Leone coming back from his ACL, you have Jackie within the squad, you have other players, and Gomez is still around. You have players within the squad who can come in and you don't have to always be in the firing line. And like I said, for him in particular, it depends on his future at this club depends on how well he plays. At Barcelona, I'm not sure if I'm not sure there's a future for him, because they're looking at Laporte now. Kubasi is definitely going to be there long term, and they're looking at someone like Laporte to come in and partner him. And I think if you look at how they want to play football, they probably need better ball playing centre backs who can tackle rather than Araujo is also good on the ball, but I think if you compare him to Kubasi, there's probably a gap, and that's where in Liverpool. That also, I've seen it pointed out that I think maybe the high line that Barcelona played wasn't too good for him. He's not the quickest defender. He's fast, but he's not the quickest defender.
For him. Yeah,
and that's what led to, if I can remember, probably the game against Inter in the Champions League. He's made some mistakes that were probably imposed on him, and then he reacted to the situation, and his reaction wasn't the best at the time. I think coming to Liverpool, I don't know the qualities of Areola when it comes to defense. That's probably maybe the one thing that would that not necessarily worry me per se, because I think last season, even when he had his whole defense cleared out, he was still able to rebuild a new defense. And you had players like even Senesi right now, who's moved to Spurs. He was able to make other players who are not as good come and look really good within his system. So it all depends on the system and how he's going to play with Araujo. But like I said, it depends on Araujo and how well he plays. If he plays well, he knows that he has a shot of staying at Liverpool. But even more importantly, he probably has a chance to go back and be captain at his club if he plays extremely well. If he's unable to do that, then it means that he like I said, his own future is at a crossroads. Yeah, his own future is at a crossroads, and I think that that's something that he also has to have in the back of his mind. Not necessarily just rely on the coach to put up a system that makes him look good. I think he also needs to show his own personal qualities for this team.
Sure thing. But I do honestly believe Liverpool need a defensive midfielder, a new one, because you can't seriously depend on Ryan Gravenberch throughout the entire season as your sole pivot, because Liverpool will be competing in 4 competitions: EFL Cup or Carabao Cup, Champions League, the League, and the FA Cup. At some point, you can't seriously rely solely on Ryan Gravenberch. Knowing how Andoni Iraola plays, or has his players play with a lot of intensity. We've already heard the infamous "my players can't last for 90 minutes" statement in preseason. I honestly believe between the whole Bakola thing, I think they are just okay in the front line. There's still Cody Gakpo in there, though. Yeah, the idea has been floated that he could possibly join Spurs. You have Isak, Ekitike will come back.
Yeah, there's a big hole in the middle. I see what you mean.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, even Szoboszlai can play a little bit further up the pitch, so I think they are fine in that regard. But defensive midfield, I think they are a bit light because, like I said, beyond Ryan Gravenberch, there is no one. Okay, yeah, you can use McAllister sparingly in that role, but what are the chances that you'll be able to excel playing Alexis McAllister in that particular role? So you can also join the conversation on YouTube, City Sports GH, City Sports Ghana. Already we have some messages coming through. So this one is from Filippo Klika, 9503, and he says, "Yeah, I'm loving your hosting of today's show so far, but boss, please smile some more." Hey, Charlie. And this one is also from Filippo. He says, "Please give us a Real Madrid update. Thank you, bosses. I will surely do that." Now, before we move over to the Real Madrid quick update, let me drop this one. So before coming in, I came into the studio, I had a bit of a thought where I saw the NFL Hall of Fame induction. You know, before the NFL season starts, they have the Hall of Fame induction ceremony where top level established former players get enshrined in their Hall of Fame. And so I put together a list of EPL players who are on track to make it to the Hall of Fame. You know, the EPL also has a Hall of Fame. So the first class, I believe it was in 2021. You had the likes of Alan Shearer, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, all got voted into the EPL Hall of Fame. I believe last year it was Gary Neville and Eden Hazard. They got voted in, and I look at the terrain, the players who are in the system right now, who are playing in the EPL right now. And I did my own projection. So I put together a team of players who are on track to make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. I hope Edwin can put it up on YouTube so our folks on YouTube can see it. But for folks who aren't on YouTube and cannot watch us on Channel 1 TV, I'll run it to you because maybe you are driving or maybe you're on a bike. We don't want you getting involved in any accident. So for our radio folks, I'll run you through my list of players who are on track to make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. So in goal, I have David Raya. On the right wing, I have William Saliba. Oh yeah. So thank you very much, Edwin, for putting it up on YouTube. So kindly join us on YouTube so that you can see the team in detail. It's a 4-3-2-1 formation. I set it up in a 4-3-2-1 formation. So you have William Saliba on the right. You have Virgil van Dijk as the right center back. You have Josko Vadio as the left center back, and then you have Mickey van der Ven. Andrew Robertson. I think there was a mistake in there. Andrew Robertson as the left full back, and then in the middle you have Bruno Fernandes, you have Declan Rice, and then you have Moises Caicedo. And for the forwards, you have Bukayo Saka, you have Erling Haaland, and you have Cole Palmer. So let me run it through one more time. So 4-3-2-1 formation. These are the list of players that I believe are on track to make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. So in goal, you have David Raya, right fullback, William Saliba, right centre back, Virgil van Dijk, left centre back, Josko Vadio, left fullback, Andrew Robertson. Pardon me, there was a bit of a typo in the graphic design in there. So initially I had Mickey van der Ven, but I swapped it for Andy Robertson. And in midfield, there is Bruno Fernandes, there's Declan Rice, there's Moises Caicedo, and for the forwards, there's Erling Haaland, there's Cole Palmer, and then there's Bukayo Saka. So you can join the conversation on WhatsApp 05399869996. Later in the program, we'll open the phone line so you can also join the conversation and share your thoughts. I am Yao AJ Mita and I'm in the studio with Manuel Angelo Kwache. So Manuel,
I mean, just to quickly touch on the Liverpool DM situation.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Before you move over, I mean, we are still in the EPL.
Yeah, but I still think the Liverpool made a problem when they failed to get Caicedo, and I've never really understood that move since then. Because in that summer, they made it very evident that the problem they wanted to solve was at DM. And they went all out, and apparently they put what would have then been a club record bid for Moises Caicedo. They missed out on him by Chelsea, improving on that offer and being able to reach an agreement with Brighton. But then after that, they got Endo, and then they never seemed to solve the problem. And it was Arne Slot who came in and thought of using Gravenberch within that.
Yeah, there's Wataru Endo.
Yeah, so I mean,
I forgot him, man.
He's quite old now. I don't even when he came into Liverpool, I think he was about 30. Yeah. So I don't think he's now going to turn into the player who's going to play all 38 games of the season and be revolutionary in that position for them. I think the problem has always been they tried to solve the problem, and at the time I thought they were paying too much for Caicedo. I'll be honest. I thought 100 million on this unknown player from Brighton would I wasn't sure if he was a player who could solve the position. But if you look at him playing for Chelsea now, I think there's no doubt now that he's clearly a world-class player, and it would have been an investment for the future. And unfortunately, since then, they haven't been able to fill that position. And like we said, Gravenberch played really there, but he plays holding midfield in a different way, not necessarily in the Kante way or in the Rodri way. He's sort of halfway in between. And I think
hybrid kind of.
Yeah, and I think that right now they need to decide what they want to do with that position. Whether they need to, like when we have Thiago, who is going to start the play from that position, or whether it's going to be more like Fabinho. And we need to decide what style of player we're going to stick with under Iraola. in preseason, it hasn't been as evident. I think because of how many changes they have to make to the team and how many players haven't been available from the start, you can't really get a clear idea. But I think Raiola would probably want to also sign someone for that position. I think those are just the two priorities: sign someone for that position and sign someone who can replace the number of goals Salah gives you. Because as much as it's about replacing the position, fine, it's good. We need someone to play in that position. But we have a lot of players who can play across the front line. I think if Szoboszlai is going to be playing as the 8, if Szoboszlai is going to be playing as the 10, then there's an argument that Verts can probably now shift out to the right rather than the left. And then maybe on the left, you can also have a Ketike behind Isak. I understand the priority in finding another player who can play the position. But I think what you also need to replace is the number of goals and the number of contributions that Salah was bringing to the team as a whole. And that, I think, will probably take a fee that's in the region of what they are willing to pay for Bakola. And if they can only pay for one player, I'm also not certain if that player is Bakola. But like you said, there's still time until the end of the transfer window, so we'll see what happens.
So you've seen my list, the list I put together of players who I believe are on the way to make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. Yeah, players who are on track to make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. So, like I said earlier, kindly forgive me for the typo for folks who are watching on YouTube. The left fullback position, it shouldn't be Mickey van der Ven, it should be Andy Robertson. It should be Andrew Robertson. So, in this list, goalkeeper, we have David Raya. On the right side, we have William Saliba. Ideally, it would have been Trent Alexander-Arnold, but he's no longer playing in the EPL. I didn't include Rodri because Rodri is well on his way to I don't know whether Real Madrid or Barcelona. Mo Salah also has exited the EPL, so you can't place him in there. So this list is
but we are just on the Salah one. We agree that Salah is still on track to be in the EPL Hall of Fame.
Oh, yes, he is in the EPL Hall of Fame. He's a walking EPL Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I mean, some players in this list are already in the EPL Hall of Fame. Virgil van Dijk is in the EPL Hall of Fame. Bruno Fernandes is in the EPL Hall of Fame. I wouldn't say an argument. I had a very animated discussion with a colleague of ours about the whole Bruno Fernandes pick. And his argument was that Bruno Fernandes hasn't won the English Premier League title. So how can he be in the Hall of Fame when he hasn't won the English Premier League title?
I mean, none of the players you mentioned so far haven't not won the EPL. Other players who have been inducted so far.
Yes. I mean, Gerrard didn't win the EPL, but he's in the EPL Hall of Fame. If you are that good, it goes. You go beyond that whole conversation about you need to win the English Premier League title for you to be considered. Gerrard was that good. Arguably the greatest midfielder in EPL history. Arguably. But did he need to win the EPL before he got inducted in the Hall of Fame? No, of course not, because he was that good. Bruno Fernandes can decide to walk out of Man U or retire, and he'll still be in the EPL Hall of Fame. I honestly believe so, because at the end of the day, if he hasn't done anything at all, he holds the record for the most assists in a particular season, which he registered last season. And so that is more than enough for him to be able to get into the Hall of Fame. Look at what he's put together since he joined Manchester United or since he joined the English Premier League. It has been impressive. Someone like Declan Rice is a guy who really needed to win the English Premier League title for him to be on track to make it to the Hall of Fame. But a guy like Virgil van Dijk, he's in the Hall of Fame. David Raya, he's on the cusp of making it to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, you'd be surprised how much once you win the title, the conversation shifts.
Yes, and he has won it, especially when he has.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, and it adds to the way, like, how do you call it, the aura or the pedigree that you have. Without, it can't be subtracted. Does that make sense? Like, I can't now look at Van Dijk without 2 Premier League titles, because I think that would look a lot differently. Andy Robertson, I think that would look a lot differently. Still, and if we still have to include Trent then, or because he's not playing further on.
No. I'm talking about
players
EPL,
who are in now.
Players who are playing in the EPL now. Oh, otherwise I've included Kevin De Bruyne and co. Players who are playing in the EPL now. That's why I didn't include Rodri, because Rodri, like I said, he's on his way out.
Yeah, no, I was just so that's why I was just checking whether the length of time you spent in the Premier League, how much does that factor in? That's what I'm asking. How much does that factor in?
You are delving into a different conversation.
No, just to understand how much does the length of time you play in the Premier League.
For me, it's about impact.
So Ronaldo too would be on track for the Hall of Fame.
Ronaldo will win the EPL Hall of Fame. He will be in the EPL Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it's not like he played there for 3 seasons. He played there for 6 seasons. And he won the EPL Player of the Year award. He won the Ballon d'Or award. And
2 Premier Leagues in a row.
All of those things. So he'll definitely be in the EPL Hall of Fame. It's about impact. So for me, he'll definitely make it. Unfortunately, like I said, a lot of players that would have made this list are out of the league. So I'm looking at right now, the players who are competing in the EPL. Oh, other than that, Moises Caicedo wouldn't have made this list. I mean, seriously. But the players who are competing in the EPL right now, who are on track to make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. Yes, that's what we are discussing. So you've seen the list. You've heard me go through it. What are your thoughts, or who would you rather have in the list, or who would you rather take out of the list?
I would have to see the list again. But then there were a few.
Edwin, kindly put it up again.
There were a few, and it also depends on how much pedigree he gives, like you said, to winning a Premier League title. Mm-hmm. I probably wouldn't argue with Fernandes one, because I think that he's definitely Bruno Fernandes, definitely. And like you said, there are lots of the Arsenal players within that. Maybe Saliba, Raya,
Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka.
Yes, there are certain players who definitely needed the Premier League win to certify the fact that they are definitely on track to make it to the Hall of Fame. But I think it mostly goes to an underlying question that we've talking about within the Premier League in terms of quality of manager and in terms of quality of players. I think there's just a slightly fallen standard. Maybe it's the end of one generation where,
particularly in the fullbacks. That's why I put Saliba as a right fullback, because which right fullback stands out in the league right now? After Trent left, I don't see anyone.
Isn't Nunes the coming again of Cafu? That's what I've been told. Matheus Nunes at Man City. I think he was a better midfielder personally, but that's per position. But that's a valid point. I think if you look at the,
so that's the list. Yeah, so you've seen the list.
Yeah.
So who would you take out?
Caicedo.
And replace him with who?
I'd probably have to give a think about it. But if Henderson is still playing in the league, not my personal choice. I don't make the call, just like I didn't pick the England squad. Yeah. But I know for sure that Jordan Henderson is definitely one of the players who they would consider for the Premier League Hall of Fame. And if I'm comparing him right now in terms of what he's achieved in the Premier League, I think only Milner has more appearances than him out of the active players in the league right now.
And he won the league title.
Yeah, and he has won the league title. He was a captain, won the league title, won the Champions League.
He was in brilliant form too.
You get me? He hasn't been in brilliant form and who knows what Chelsea can go on to achieve this season, which would all add to.
So if he wins a second league title,
he's definitely in there.
Hall of Fame.
I know, not again. This is not a personal choice. I'm not Jordan.
But like you are thinking.
I definitely think Henderson is one of the players who would be considered for the Premier League Hall of Fame. Also for longevity.
Jordan Henderson.
Also for longevity. Also for longevity.
Well, if he makes that list, then I know there's purely English bias.
I mean, but there'll definitely be an English bias, but it's the.
But so far, the English bias, they are picks that you can defend and that are sound. I don't know if you get my point. I mean, Gary Neville, who is arguing against Gary Neville? David Beckham, Paul Scholes.
But they played
Steven Gerrard.
But they played in prime teams who were constantly winning trophies, and I just think Henderson's story is just a little different, with him having to him captaining Liverpool to their first Premier League title in 30 years. And it also I don't compare him to Roy Keane, because I think Roy Keane was a much better footballer. But there's also some credence that's given to this whole leadership and guidance and with Cantona too, and this whole the reason we all were able to do it. There were times we didn't take it, but he, you know what
honestly,
I mean. It's intangible.
To honestly believe that he might just end up getting into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, like another league titles, how they call it, just cemented for him. Yeah, I mean, just that, and you contrast that the fact that Caicedo is yet to win the Premier League title.
Yeah, and that's the point I made in that article of mine on citysportsonline.com, because he needs to play the way he's played the past 2 seasons for Chelsea and play the way he played at Brighton and Hove Albion for the next maybe 3-4 seasons for him to get into the Hall of Fame. Even if he doesn't win the league title, for me, I think that would be enough. Honestly, because
Caicedo.
Yeah. That would be enough, because you have to be.
No, but he's playing exceptionally. But I'm not trying to disrespect football. What football is Caicedo playing that we haven't seen before? He's playing at an exceptionally high level. I'm not disputing that.
What you've done, what you do has already been done before.
Yeah, but then now you have Kante is not in the league, but you have someone like Kante who won the league back to back. You have Makelele who won it with Mourinho. There's Makelele. There are a lot of and that's what I'm saying. And they're not even doing it position by position. If they're doing it by the year, they are doing it based on certain factors.
Are you that good? Then they'll put you in, because the last one, it was Gary Neville and Eden Hazard.
Yeah, and that's, you have to get in ahead of certain people, and that's if we're going by the fact that there may always be 2 players who have played better than Caicedo. That's what I'm saying. It's not a certain. If I look at the team, the only certainties for me are Haaland, Fernandes, and Van Dijk.
Haaland,
Fernandes, Van
Dijk. No, Andy Robertson. He's definitely going to the Hall of Fame. Looking at the thing is, and Andy Robertson too.
Yes, Andy Robertson.
Yes, and I based my argument of what usually transpires with the NFL. What they usually say, the popular phrase they usually pick is that in your generation, were you one of the top 5 or best players in your position? That's what they look out for.
Yeah, I think that summarizes the question I was talking about with Caicedo.
So Henderson, in his generation, was he viewed as top 5 top midfielders in the EPL?
That's a good. The way you phrase that actually gives me a different answer. Was he viewed? Was he viewed, and per your estimation, you watched him play, was he one of the best midfielders in the EPL, top 5? And that's at any point in time in his career. That's how I put it. Yeah, I would during the title winning season, I'd argue he was. And it's not even technically. It's not about how well he played. Like, there are certain other things that it's maybe how he adapted tactically to certain instructions. It's maybe how he pushed other teams on. It's maybe the last minute tackle, or the fact that he was always tracking back. Like, there are different things that people will look at and used to place value on Henderson's season. It also depends on how well other players were playing during that season. The year we won the title, that's probably after Fernandes came in, and he was having, since 2020, he went on a crazy, he came with a bang, basically. So I'd be surprised if Henderson was the best midfielder during that time. But winning the league, playing I'm struggling to find compliments that actually mean playing consistently, being hardworking, and just guiding the team to the league. I think there are people who could view him. It's whether he was or not, I don't think so. Based purely on technical ability, I don't think so. But if it's about other attributes of football that go beyond just being a midfielder and go to maybe being a good player, maybe being a good teammate, maybe being a good captain, there are definitely arguments to me for Henderson, and that it's intangibles that are probably going to help, that are set in other people's mind, that will probably help him, like you said, that will probably make him look better than he was. And like we keep coming back to, a league title helps.
Would Essien make it to the Hall of Fame?
Definitely. Okay. Definitely.
So that was Manuel Angelo Kwache sharing his thoughts on my list of players in the EPL who are competing in the EPL now, not previously. No, now. EPL players competing now who are on track to make it to the Hall of Fame, the EPL Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but I think like our conversation last week, the there's a reduction in quality, like I keep coming back to, in terms of the player level, in terms of, because I'm looking...
Timotino 1400, he says Reece James will surely be in it. And then Maxwell Efia W7M, he says, good afternoon. My shout out to you guys in the studio. This is Maxwell, known as Manzi, texting from Ashaman. So yeah, a few thoughts being shared on our YouTube page. So you can kindly log on to YouTube and check us out on City Sports Ghana.
Yeah, I mean, Man City too, I think if you look at they've sold a lot of their good players, but there's still a lot of players there. Like Foden is definitely someone who is probably on track to definitely be in there. It's not in terms of quality, but he has like 6 league titles now, or if not, or 10 or something.
Then he
like
needs
that.
to get back to that player of the season kind of form for the next 2 seasons or 3 seasons.
You find it for a season. You find it for a season or 2, and then nostalgia will kick in. Like if people just say, people will just start saying he was playing really early. You saw, I mean, Sterling's left the league, but you say he started playing really early, and that affected how the end of his career. By the time he got to the end of his career, he didn't have energy or he had run out of legs compared to some of the players who don't start as early as he did. Because Foden was playing for Man City at 17, 18, and that's definitely going to affect how much football he's played. If you look at how much football he's played over his career so far, compared to maybe even someone like Palmer, who was playing for City but wasn't playing as many games as he was from that time. And but if you look at, like I said, if you look at Foden's number of league titles, there's definitely a shout for how he makes it into the Hall of Fame.
Well, Prince Baden 4522 on YouTube, he says, what about KDB? Well, as I said before, this list is made up of players who are competing in the EPL now. But if we are looking across board, KDB is a surefire.
I think over time you should probably do a 2020s Hall of Fame. Just the players, the players of this deck. Because I think Hazard started just before that. Yeah. I don't think anyone starting from 2020, like who's.
I'm picking Haaland over every striker.
You're picking Haaland over every striker.
2020, I'm picking Haaland over every striker. I mean, the guy has 112 goals in the EPL in 132 games.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, Haaland is. I think Haaland is a set, like Van Dijk and like Van Dijk certainly, and Robertson, like you said.
Yeah.
It's I'm just wondering if you look at this, like the player, like the era that just gone by. I think it's probably the end of an era, and like I'm saying, just like a throwback. Maybe you could do an 11 from just players who have, just 2020 players who have. Definitely, again, Fernandes, there's some players who probably repeat in the list. You can probably have Fernandes, but I think the more interesting one is maybe some of the players who haven't.
That group will have definitely Mo Salah in there. We'll definitely have Kevin De Bruyne in there. I'm looking at a top level defender, but I think Van Dijk will also be in there still.
Ruben Diaz was he?
Ruben Diaz, yeah. I mean, if you win Premier League Player of the Year and you're a defender, that must count for something. Then you got
Robertson, Trent was. I think
Courtois, I don't know. Maybe David De Gea.
Alisson.
Yeah, definitely Alisson.
Yeah.
Definitely Alisson. Then you look at
Probably say Rodri. This is where your Caicedo argument comes in, because he's probably been one of the best players. Of that era, I can probably definitely put him in. Like I said, just needs to get his league title.
This is definitely tricky. So Prince Baden comes back and he says, okay, so does Ruben Diaz has a shout in there too? So yeah, like, as Manuel said, of the 2020 past generation or that era, Ruben Diaz definitely has a shout in there. Is VVD a Hall of Famer? Yes, Sweet Kwame, he is a Hall of Famer.
I mean, will be, but
no, he is a walking Hall of Fame. Virgil van Dijk can retire today. He will make it to the EPL Hall of Fame.
Definitely.
He will definitely make it to the EPL Hall of Fame, especially when he's won 2 EPL titles.
Yeah, I mean, he was the captain for the second one.
He was the captain for the second one.
So that's, I think that
he'll definitely make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. And yes, Sweet Kwame comes back. He says, Erling Haaland has broken practically every record. Yes, it's true. I mean, the fastest to 100 goals, fastest hat trick, all of those things. Recently he got another Guinness Book of Record certificates. The guy is just a machine. He can retire. He's played in the EPL for just 4 seasons. He can retire today and he'll still make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. No cap.
I saw an interesting graphic this week, and I think everyone else has fallen by the wayside. But I was looking at the Premier League, as in the top scorers, as in who's closer to Shearer now. I think Salah was the closest of all the active players, and he was 4th. But now, if you look at it, there's no. I'm looking at the list now, and the closest to Alan Shearer's 260 record out of all the active players in the Premier League is actually Erling Haaland.
Yeah. With
112 goals. Everyone else has either retired or is no longer in the league. And if you look at it, he's definitely, even without it being on paper, he definitely looks like the person who's actually closest to breaking that record. And like you said, the fact that he's only played in the league for 4 seasons is incredible. It's actually a bit scary very, very scary for other players within the division.
I don't know if he will break that record of Alan Shearer, because I don't see him sticking at Man City for 3 more years.
He signed a 10-year contract.
No, you know that thing is just paper. At this point, it's in this modern day and age of football. Yeah, I mean, if he pushes to leave for, let's say, Real Madrid, which I'm pretty sure he will at some point, after maybe 3 seasons, and he scored another 100 goals, I doubt Man City will be a stumbling block, especially if Real Madrid are ready to cough up some serious money.
Yeah, I mean, Madrid have the money. I thought they didn't have money. The way they and some of the Spanish clubs are moving because of the registration and all that. But
yeah. They signed quite a number of players on free transfer.
Yeah, and they've surprisingly made a lot of money from selling players that were never going to play for Real Madrid.
Yeah. Those 2 young boys at Fulham. Yeah, they shipped them to Fulham, made some, I think, what, 40-50 million pounds from it. Some solid money.
I think Avle could have a better strategy than
bringing in.
It didn't work for Ten Hag. Just bringing in players you worked with before. Obviously, and he's not even the most experienced manager. I can even understand Ten Hag, because Ten Hag has been around a bit, but you've just been at one club and you've seen a really good youth striker. I mean, I hope to see how it works out for Fulham. It looks like a heavy investment. And Avle wouldn't be in the job if he hadn't been Real Madrid manager last season. Mm-hmm. So,
okay. So on WhatsApp, the line is 0539986996. And checking the WhatsApp console, this one's coming from AJ Stomata from Ashaman Aviation. He says he should actually get prepared because the EPL is no joke. The journey is about to begin. I'm not too sure what you're referring to. Maybe Andoni Raiola?
Yeah.
Or Ronald Araujo. I'm pretty sure maybe you're talking about Ronald Araujo. So this one is coming from Lucky Boy from Tema. He says, good afternoon, City. We, the Man United fans, are optimistic that this season is going to be better than the previous season. We are going to win the Premier League and the Champions League, inshallah. Yes, I'm Lucky Boy from Tema. And this one is coming from who is it? I didn't catch the name. So this one says most of the players mentioned here shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is not a wholesale. What is Caicedo doing there? Bruno Fernandes shouldn't be there. Caicedo should never be mentioned. Stop it. Kante should be there. Kun Aguero should be there. Yaya Toure should be there. Essien should also be there. And I think you didn't get my drift earlier. I said this list is players competing in the EPL now, as we speak. Because, I mean, if we're going by the normal logical expansion.
No, I mean, but if
a lot of players in this squad wouldn't make it. And so it's players who are competing in the EPL now. It's players who are competing in the EPL now. But I appreciate the names you mentioned. I mean, Kun Aguero, Yaya Toure, Essien. Yeah, those guys will definitely be in the EPL Hall of Fame.
If I can, but just to give him the benefit of the doubt, if I assume that the thing is, as much as we are trying to give it to the players now, which I agree with, but then wouldn't there be a situation where they would have to get in beyond players who had played before? given the limited number of people who can go in at a time. But again, that's not where the argument is going.
Yeah. I mean, the opening year group, if I can put it, opening class, they had about 5 players inducted at a go. So it was Shearer, it was Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, David Beckham, and there was another, I believe it was Dennis Bergkamp. And there were about 5 or 6. So that was at a go. That was the opening class. Then in the latter years, it was 2-3. So like I said, last year it was Eden Hazard and Gary Neville that made it to the hall. So potentially looking at the long list of candidates.
Yeah, I think I like that phrase in the long list. If it's a bit to call up the way we have 55-man squad, they probably also have like 100-man list of players who are.
It's a very long list,
and yeah, definitely Caicedo.
Because Makelele hasn't made it yet.
Wait,
Yaya Toure hasn't made it yet. Essien hasn't made it yet.
Scholes must have been. I think
Scholes
has to be the last
2022,
guy.
2023. One of those two classes. I mean, the Man United team had
it's gigs in already.
Gigs. I need to check on that one.
That's what I'm saying. There are lots of Man United players who are willing, who are waiting to just be almost like they're also in. They're also walking Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Given what they have, they have achieved, and I just think that the competition is really high, and that's why I feel like you need to. Yeah. You need to match up.
I mean, they just started it 4-5 years ago. So I honestly believe with time, they'll catch up. Yeah. It will match with the demand because there's a huge backlog. There's a huge backlog.
And then for how many Premier players get in a season?
I remember it was initially it used to be 6 and they reduced it. It used to be quite 4 and they increased it to about 6-7 and they reduced it again. So the last one that you had Luke Quigley, formerly of the Carolina Panthers. You had Drew Brees, former quarterback, New Orleans Saints. You had Roger Craig, former running back. You had Adam Vinatieri. They were about 5. So it hovers around that number, between 4 and 6. And so with the EPL, I'm pretty sure they will level up eventually and start increasing the number because last year it was just 2. And then Hazard and Gary Neville, I honestly believe that's not enough. So Mama, this one is from a texter. Kindly add your name and where you are texting from. He says EPL players who are competing now, who are eligible for the Hall of Fame. He says number 1, David Raya, Haaland, Rodri. Okay, well, for now, Rodri is still competing in the EPL. I doubt he will compete that long. So there's Declan Rice, there's Saka, there's Odegaard. Well, that's your opinion, but I honestly don't think Odegaard will make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. Though he's won a title, I honestly don't think he'll make it. Jurien Timber, he has a chance to make it. I mean, if he can play the way he's played over the past 2 seasons for the next maybe 5 seasons, he'll definitely make it. Antoine Semenyo, he's had a good start. He needs about 4 more seasons of that kind of performance, plus a league title or 2. I think he will get in. Because that position that he plays is loaded. Wing in the EPL is loaded because Sadio Mane,
Robert Perez, we can't go
all
back.
All those guys, Sadio Mane, Charlie, and he mentions Gabriel Magalhaes. Will Gabriel Magalhaes make it in your list? Should he have made my list? Because some folks are arguing that he should have made my list.
Like I keep saying, I don't think just playing really well should get you in the list. I think you need to achieve things that other players, that's an incredible achievement. Because playing well, unless you were revolutionary and you changed the way a position was played, it's difficult to make an argument why you can't find a player who was either more successful than you in that position or play the position better than you. And I think that there are different factors when it comes to just playing well. And I think there's one things we can easily distinguish between our honors and achievements, whether they are personal achievements or team achievements. Yeah.
Okay, so just a quick run through the YouTube comments before we go on our first break. Sweet Kwame comes back and he says, Haaland will definitely be at City. Raymond Dakota, he says, good afternoon. It's been a while. Yes, it's been a while, Raymond Dakota. Yes, Sweet Kwame comes back. He says, Haaland says he won't go to Real Madrid. Players say that all the time. The next thing you know, they are lining up, kissing their badge and all. So we'll see how that goes. Roman Dakota says that season is back. Sweet Kwame says, why do you want Haaland to go to Real Madrid? Because of what? Yeah, because Real Madrid have a luster about them that Man City simply do not have.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you see how
they have the aura. Yes, using the big term these days, they have the aura that unfortunately Man City don't have. That kind of aura is not a slight to Man City. Even Liverpool don't have it. No EPL team has it. Barcelona and Real Madrid, they are in the class of their own. Kwachi, do you disagree?
I know I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But I think it's very similar to when the Premier League started and they said we're the best league in the world and eventually became true. I think Barcelona and Real Madrid have also realized that they can't push their league because the league necessarily is not as competitive with the Premier League. So they push the two clubs as the pinnacle of the club football where you need to play for, and the South Americans have run with it. And I think there are a lot of European and African players too who are now using the fact. And obviously it's Real Madrid, the thing they had was the Champions League. They are competitive in the Champions League, and Barca have the style of football and La Masia and Pep Guardiola and Tiki Taka, and
they have the classical.
They
have those
a lot of.
They have the Ballon d'Or winners, the FIFA World Best Player winners. So it adds up. It adds up. And look, even
I think it's folklore. I think the folklore that people that we still believe. I'm not just the first.
Yeah, that too. The folklore, that too. And look, at this point, even your favorite England player wants to go play for Barcelona or wants to go play for Real Madrid. It's fact. The biggest or the biggest name out there in English football, he's playing for Real Madrid. Jude Bellingham.
Yeah, but I mean, 5 years ago there were no English. I'm telling you, 10 years ago there were no English players playing outside England. If you go back to
that's 2016. 2016. A couple.
I mean, if you go back to maybe the Gerrard, Lampard, Rooney,
those
Terry
guys were
era,
yearning to go to Real Madrid. Trust me. Or FC Barcelona. Trust me.
Definitely.
I mean, Gerrard was on the verge of leaving up until he won the Champions League. He was on the verge. You know that he was on the verge of leaving.
Yeah, he would have joined. Madrid.
He was on the verge.
I think you'd have joined Chelsea at that time. Yeah.
But at that point, was Real Madrid seriously interested in Gerrard? Not really. But if they really were interested in him, they would have gotten him. That's if they didn't win the Champions League at Liverpool. But anyway, let me continue with the comments on YouTube. Sweet Kwame. He said, why do you want... I've already answered that. So Sweet Kwame comes back and said, money or trophies? And Haaland has won it. Yeah, money, trophies, Haaland has it. But does he have that kind of aura that Real Madrid gives you? I don't think he has it. Yeah. I mean, Manchester City, no slight to them, but they can't give it to you. There's a reason why Cristiano Ronaldo left Man United to Real Madrid.
Yeah,
there's a difference. So that's all I can say about it.
What is a Galactical? Can you define what it's just?
It's just more than a star. Erling Haaland is a star.
No, but then it's something they say to make you feel.
Yeah, like you are more than a star. You see,
and it's
at this point, Erling Haaland is a big star, recognized all over the world. But
some way, somehow, Real Madrid have convinced him that if you come and play for us,
you'll be virtually worshipped as a god. Their building status for David Beckham and all in Asia. That's what you get if you play for Real Madrid. We've seen Messi statue in India. You won't get to play for Manchester City. I'm sorry. Sis Kwame says Moises Caicedo as a Hall of Famer. I am dying with laughing emojis. Yeah, this one is a projection. I'm saying that he's on track. He's on track to make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. It's not a situation where I say, oh yeah, yes indeed, definitely he is a Hall of Fame. Right now, I don't think he's a Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Famer, or he's a Hall of Fame inductee. But if he plays the way he's played over the past 2 seasons at Chelsea, he plays, let's say, 4 more years, gives you that kind of production, 4 more years, he'll definitely make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. Which goes back to my point. Is he one of the best midfielders in the league? Yes, he is. Yeah. And he's been one of the best midfielders in the league over the past 4 seasons. There was that first season at Chelsea where he didn't perform. I'll give you that. But over the past 4 or 5 seasons, he's been one of the best midfielders in the league. And so if you can produce about 3-4 more years of that top level production and potentially win a title or 2, yeah, you definitely are going into the Hall of Fame. Filippo comes back and says, Real Madrid made some good sales from the academy. Haaland will go to Real Madrid because there are 2 football clubs in the world, Madrid and the others. Sweet Kwame comes back and he's just laughing. He's having a good time. He says, aura. Haaland has aura, lol. LOL. Laughing out loud. Is Mbappe a god in Real Madrid? Football has changed. I mean, there's a reason why Mbappe is a big cash magnet, a big deal. If he wasn't going to be that big a deal in the business world or off the field issues, if he was still playing at PSG and not at Real Madrid.
You saw the story about Klopp coming out before he took the Germany job and saying that they almost signed Mbappe.
Yeah, for Liverpool.
In a plane. I think if he had signed for Liverpool at that time, he'd probably be as big as he is now. Oh. And that's where I think that the Premier League on its own can compete with Liverpool and Barca. Maybe not individually, the clubs can't compete, but I think the Premier League or the law of the law of the Premier League itself can compete with Real Madrid and Barca. Unfortunately, what they need to now start doing is start racking up the Champions Leagues, because that's what Real Madrid has. Real Madrid has, if you go there, you can win a Champions League within 3 years. You're a legend. If the Premier League clubs were somehow able to find a way to dominate the Champions League, like the way they seem to be dominating the Europa League now and the Conference League, if they can find a way to get that strength and get into the Premier League, I think that changes the conversation a bit.
Okay. So we'll go for a quick break. When we return, I'll delve into some Spanish La Liga issues. I mean, since we are now talking about FC Barcelona and Real Madrid, and I see a couple of people hitting us up and asking about updates on Real Madrid, the players they signed, the future of Vinicius Jr., all of those kind of questions. Where will it fit? Now with Yan Diomande also joining the fray. So you can keep your thoughts coming in on our WhatsApp line 0539986996. This is Citi FM 97.3 FM. You can also catch us live on Channel 1 TV. This is the Republic of Football. My name is Yao AJ Minta. We'll go for a quick commercial break. We'll be back. Madrid? Are they done signing players? FC Barcelona, are they bringing in Julian Alvarez? Are they bringing in Rodri? What's the future like for some of their players? Are they going to get a striker? Because Ferran Torres is gone. Lewandowski is gone. He signed for Chicago Fire. He's competing in the MLS. Are they going to be starting with a strikerless system? I mean, now they brought in wing help. Adeyemi is there. Lamine Yamal is there. Rafinha is also there. Anthony Gordon has been signed. So, yeah, it is very possible that you have Barcelona lining up with no striker. But just a quick a few messages that have come through. This one is from Richard Delali. He says, I don't think Raya can make the Hall of Fame, but the one who will make it is Alisson, whom you never give a mention. Well, Raya definitely has a big shout to make it to the Hall of Fame because he has won the Golden Globe Award 3 times. Yeah, 3 times in a row. And on top of that, just a quick one. And on top of that, he's just one short of the all-time record that was recorded by Petr Cech and Joe Hart. And so if you are getting mentioned among these guys, and you won the English Premier League title, yeah, definitely on the path to making it to the Hall of Fame. Kwachi, let me hear from you.
Now I just wanted to point out the fact that Alisson still plays for Liverpool, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I think he could also definitely be in the team. I mean, but Raya is a good shout, but.
But between Alisson and Raya, who are you picking?
I'm a little biased, so
Alisson. Okay.
Yeah, probably Alisson.
So this one is coming from Moses Mbalimo from Bimbila. He says, is it the definition? No, this one is okay. He says EPL is for Arsenal and no one else. Yes, that's Amos Mbalimo from Bimbila. He says EPL is for Arsenal and no one else. Yeah, my man here, no name. No name. Kindly add your name and where you're texting from to your messages. This one coming from one of our listeners. He says, this one's a funny one. He says, why are you not mentioning Lord Maguire? Lord Maguire, meaning Harry Maguire. He says the only player who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for the EPL is Lord Maguire, Harry Maguire, he means. And he also adds that Semenyo at the moment is better than any winger in the Premier League. No one else comes close. So that's it for our messages. Keep them coming on WhatsApp line 0539986996. Let me check if I have some messages on our YouTube page. Remember, we'll be switching over to our correspondents dotted all over the country to pick up updates from the MPP regional executive elections. But our folks who are on YouTube can still stay put because we'll still be streaming live on YouTube. And so if you want to catch the show, you can do so on YouTube. Nitaki 233 says, shiny brother Charlie, today it is shine pound. That's a comment coming there from YouTube. Okay, so Kwache, let me hear from you. Your prediction for the FA Community Shield game between Manchester City and Arsenal tomorrow.
I think it's a chance for Arsenal themselves to correct a little bit wrong. They've struggled a bit against City at the recent end of last season, losing to them in the EFL Cup final. And then they also lost to them, I think, at a crucial point in the league when Man City thought they would be able to go on and win the league. But Arsenal held on and managed to win the league title. But looking at the game, it's a friend. I don't like the way the English people call it a friendly. I think people make the valid point that in none of the other top 5 leagues do they refer to it as a friendly. Now that, like you said at the start, it's either a Super Cup or it always means
the
something.
Ghana version, champion of champions.
That's an interesting.
Why are you laughing?
No,
that's how we say it. Yeah, champion of champions. Yeah.
It's when you copy your homework, but you don't copy. Try and change that. But at the end of the day, it's an important game, and I think in England it's just weird how they see it as curtain raiser start of the season, and they try to respect the competition. I like what they've done in Spain. Because one of the reasons I don't particularly like the English version of it is how the team that finishes second can win the Community Shield, like Arsenal did. I think was it 2023 or 2024. One of the seasons that they finished second, they were able to win the Community Shield, and I don't think that the team that finishes second. I think there should be a better format so it looks like an actual competition. I think in Spain they've added the finalists from the cup competitions to the system. So now they have 4 teams that play in the Super Cup. They travel and play in another country. So I don't think that necessarily helps with the.
It's a marketing move. It's a marketing move. To generate more money.
It generates money, but I think where it generates the money, you lose an atmosphere. Because imagine if you could play a game that ends up being a Clasico at either. Obviously, then you'd have the problem of should we play it at the Bernabeu or should we play it at the Nou Camp, and you probably have to find a neutral ground. But I think if you play the game in Spain,
solved that issue and provided another avenue to bring in more money.
It just looks, or I don't like the final product at the end of the day. Maybe just sometimes it's also the English centric bias when the way they always play their games and it's always at Wembley.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if maybe there just isn't that same effect. And even theirs is supposed to be the friendly, but they always have this. It's being played at Wembley. It's the start of the season. There's always this visually. There's always something familiar about the Community Shield game. It's a bit like the FA Cup final or the EFL Cup final. And I think it just moving from Riyadh to to Qatar another year just to try and generate more money. I think now it's constantly Saudi Arabia, if I'm right. But there are other games that could be played there. They even have mentioned eventually taking one of their league games.
Miami.
I understand the need to compete with the Premier League in terms of financially. This is how they can make money because they are not making as much money from TV revenue as the Premier League. But I think it makes it's a bit like when they used to play this. If you remember when they used to play the Club World Cup, but then they'd have to go and travel to in the middle of the season, and it wasn't being shown.
Morocco hosted one of those. I think it was 2023, 2022.
Yeah, it just means that people are not as into it as they were for maybe the Champions League final. Even though it's supposed to be at the end of the day, it was supposed to be a grander competition. It's now known as the Intercontinental Cup, which confuses me because now the Club World Cup it's a different competition.
Different format.
Yeah, different format, all that. But just to get back to the point, if they take it seriously, I think there's definitely a game Arsenal should be looking to win and to set the tone right. It's like Guardiola isn't here anymore. This isn't the same Man City that we were scared of when we couldn't win the league. We've been able to not even overcome our fear. If it was fear that he had initially of Man City, if it was they are the champions and we should learn how to be like them. You are the champions now, and this is a different Man City team. And I think from the start, if they need to set an early marker down and make it very obvious that we're not here this season to dominate. We're here to do what you used to do, and we're now going to be the team that dominates.
But I've already said this. I said this last week that Arteta, if he doesn't go back to back, it will be a huge disappointment because he's a proven commodity. He's the most proven commodity in the English Premier League as far as managers are concerned. He's more proven than Unai Emery in the EPL.
In the EPL.
In the EPL. I mean, Unai Emery has been there at Aston Villa for 4 seasons. 3.5, 3. Yeah, 4 seasons.
Let's include his unbeaten run at the start of the Arsenal time.
I mean, 4 seasons. Arteta has been there for 6 full seasons. So yeah, he's more proven, especially when he's been battling or going up against Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola. When his Arsenal team wasn't that great, and he still ended up finishing second in one of those seasons, going up against Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah,
I don't think Arteta gets his just due. And for the record, that Hall of Fame list I put together, the head coach, I put Arteta in there. Yeah, that he's on track to make it to the EPL Hall of Fame. Oh, no, Kwashi. Why are you laughing?
No, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing entirely. I just think he has the credit of being the only manager in the league to have actually won a Premier League title, and that again, just like the Hall of Fame, that gives you an unfair credit. We just have none of the other managers within the Premier League this season have ever won the Premier League title. Mm-hmm. The fact that Arteta has done it before probably gives him a step above in terms of Premier League level. But let's talk all levels now. Let's talk winning trophies. Let's talk how they call it, achievements in career. I think
he won the FA Cup too. He won the FA Cup.
He's won the FA Cup. He's won 2 community shields. Let's
so that's for English Super Cups. That's how I put it. Community shield, English Super Cup. He's won twice.
One of them for finishing second.
He still won it. And he won the FA Cup. And he's won the Premier League title.
Emery can match his Premier, like his entire trophy haul with just Europa Leagues. He has 4 Europa Leagues.
Yeah, I'm talking about the EPL.
And that's why I'm saying that it's like we are counting England. And that's what I'm saying. The fact that he's the only manager to have won the Premier League will give him credit when it comes to the Premier League. But in terms of actual comparison to actual managers, I think that there are one or two managers that he's just a little bit behind. You can even tell.
Please don't mention Xabi Alonso because he's not proven in the English Premier League as a coach.
He's not proven in the English Premier League. Yeah. But let's take the weight of the Premier League aside and let's look at proven coaches. I'm definitely, I think that the scale of Xabi Alonso's achievement probably supersedes what Arteta has been able to do at Chelsea.
If Arteta goes to the German league,
he's not winning the league with Bayer Leverkusen against against
finishing second.
Thomas Tuchel's Bayern Munich.
He will win the Bundesliga.
Nagelsmann's Bayern Munich.
Yeah, he'll win it because, and this is why I say so, because finishing second with that Arsenal team at the time where Jurgen Klopp was still in the league with Pep Guardiola, it's more difficult than
Klopp bottled it. They bottled it. Like Liverpool were like if they lost to Everton 2-0, and since then they just lost their energy for the rest of the season. I'm not discrediting that, but it's very similar to when Arsenal finished second in the Leicester season, when we all remember that Spurs were their closest challengers. Mm-hmm. I understand that Arsenal finished second that season, but Spurs were their closest challengers, and they at the end of the season too, they lost their momentum and they ended up finishing third. But the record will show that Spurs were their closest challengers. And as much as Arsenal in one of those seasons, as much as Arsenal did finish second, I don't think necessarily at the time they were City's closest challengers. I think in that season different. But I think it also proves that I think the fact that they finished above Liverpool is mainly due to the fact that Liverpool lost energy at the end of the season.
But do you think they're missing out on Vinicius Jr. or not signing Vinicius Jr. More or less puts a cap on what they can achieve this season? Not necessarily as in successfully defend the title, but win the Champions League.
Arsenal were never going to sign Vinicius Jr. I did not believe.
If you look at the left side of their attack, I mean, Bukayo Saka, cemented. Gyökeres to the middle, cemented. The left side of their attack is nothing major because Martinelli, they brought in the young chap, Solis. I think he's Greek, Christos Solis. And then there's Gabriel Jesus. If you bring in Vinicius Jr., massive upgrade.
For them, there's no, for them, Vinicius Jr. would have been the next level. He is exactly what they need. They have incredible players, talented players in all positions, and they've tried their best to stay at that 70-80 million mark. It's only Declan Rice that they
now you're a big boy.
They had to.
Now you're a big boy. You are the English Premier League title winners. Do what big boys do. Especially when you definitely need a guy like Vinicius Jr. to help you go over the top and win the Champions League.
The truth is, it's not Vinicius Jr. that they really wanted. Who they really wanted would have been Rodrigo. And Rodrigo is a different kind of statement. You can definitely sign Rodrigo. Rodrigo is similar to signing Mesut Ozil. I don't think he's that differential as much as Vinicius is. Vinicius is a different level since probably 2020-21. But let's look at the Vinicius side of it. Why is Vinicius going to Arsenal? again, we have the pool of the Premier League. I'll give you that.
I mean,
they are Premier League champions.
Yeah, they are in London,
London.
Metropolitan City. They are
He
a
lives
significant
Madrid.
population of Brazilians there in the team. There's Gabriel Magalhaes, there's Martin.
They would have had to break the entire wage structure to sign him.
That's what big boys do. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I mean, and Vinicius, given Real Madrid were not willing to meet the demands he had, as well, Arsenal now going to meet those demands, and they have to, because it's a statement for Vinicius. He wants, like, he values himself at a certain level. Real Madrid do not think you are at that level. You do not have that mad value give him. They want him to sign a contract, and the Arsenal deal is him just saying, "Oh, you don't really want to give me what I want. I have other people who are listening, who are willing to offer." Arsenal would have then had to now talk to Real Madrid and try and get them to reduce the offer, because I don't think even with not that much left on his contract, I don't think they were, like you said, they should probably be a big boy and do what big boys do. And they did a big boy move for Declan Rice. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand at the moment why Vinicius, especially if you look at the situation with Mourinho just coming in, unless Mourinho wanted him out, and that's a different argument. But Mourinho is also the type of guy where, if you look at Vinicius, Mourinho needs that old school type player who needs love and needs to be inspired. And Vinicius fits right within that mood. And I think Mbappe too responded to that. But Vinicius is definitely that type of player who, if Mourinho comes in and Vinicius says, "Oh, the other coach didn't make me feel important," Mourinho will make you feel important and give you a role just so he can bring the best out of you. I think he was just trying to strong arm Real Madrid to get him what he wants. 4 days later, he got his contract. Yeah. He got his deal. He never left us.
Who are you picking? Man City or Arsenal to win the FA Cup?
I think Arsenal. I think if look at I think Man City will win. But looking at it, Arsenal has to win just to show that, like I said, the title is not just there for the taking. They need to make a statement on the opening day.
Okay. So 0539986996. That's the WhatsApp line. You can join us on the Republic of Football. My name is Yahweh Jamie. I just heard from Manuel Angelo Kwache. You can drop your predictions on who you think will end up winning the FA Community Shield tomorrow. The matchup between Manchester City, the FA Cup champions, and the EPL title winners, Arsenal. Now moving over to the Spanish La Liga, as I mentioned earlier in the show, the Spanish La Liga season commences today. We have a handful of games taking place in Spain, and since we were referring to Vinicius Jr. making a lot of comments about him, let me run you through the list of games that we have coming up in the Spanish La Liga. At 5:30, there's Deportivo Alaves taking on Getafe. At 7:30, there is Sevilla taking on Rayo Vallecano. So those are the two games to open the 2026-2027 Spanish La Liga season. And later on Sunday, there is Racing Santander. I haven't heard about this team competing in the top flight in a while. Used to be a popular name, popular team back in the day. Went down for a while, but now they are back and ready to compete in the top flight and with the big boys. So Racing Santander will be taking on Villarreal on Sunday at 3 p.m. Villarreal, the former team of Thomas Partey, who is a free agent as we speak. And later on Sunday at 5 p.m., there's Espanyol taking on Levante. The La Liga opening week of games, or opening round of games, has been spread out. So Monday, there's Deportivo La Coruña, a very big popular team. Back in the day, went down for a while, and now they are back. That's where Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang plays these days. Look out for Deportivo La Coruña. They'll be taking on Elche on Monday, 17th August at 7 p.m. And then, let's see, I believe on Tuesday, there's also some games in there. Okay, so that'll be pretty much it from the Spanish La Liga. And so, let's delve into some matters concerning some of the teams competing in the La Liga. And yes, first things first, folks asked of updates, transfer updates from Real Madrid. Which players have they signed? Which players have they kicked out? Which players are on the move? Their future hangs in the balance. So this is just a quick wrap of some of the players that Real Madrid have signed in the 2026 off season. So Jan Diomande, they signed him from RB Leipzig in Germany. They signed Marco Correa from Chelsea for 55 million euros. They signed center forward from Levante for 25 million euros. That's Carlos Espi. They signed Denzel Dumfries from Inter Milan. He's a right wing back for 20 million euros. Surprised a lot of teams wearing all over Denzel Dumfries, getting Denzel Dumfries' signature. Then you also had Ibrahima Konate joining Real Madrid from Liverpool on a free transfer, and Bernardo Silva also joining Real Madrid from Manchester City also on a free transfer. For their big rivals, FC Barcelona, they had a little bit of a low-key transfer list of activities. They signed Anthony Gordon from Newcastle, and then they signed Karim Adeyemi, both are wingers from Borussia Dortmund, and then they signed Jesse Bissou from Club NXT. I mean, he competed in the Belgian top flight, and surprise, surprise, he's of Ghanaian descent. Yeah, Jesse Bissou. He's joined FC Barcelona. Remember, FC Barcelona have, I believe, 3 players who are from Ghana and in their junior team. Abdulaziz Issa, formerly of Dreams FC, he's also in there. David Odro, formerly of Accra Lions, competed in the Ghana Premier League a couple of seasons back. And then there's a young chap in there. He's a defender. I'll get his name for you. So yes, there's some Ghanaian. It's called Gariba. Ghanaian contingent, solid Ghanaian contingent in FC Barcelona. But they've signed so far. They signed 3 players. All of them are wingers. So Anthony Gordon is a winger. Karim Adeyemi, Jesse Bissou also plays as a winger. He's a young lad. 18 years old from Belgium. And like I said earlier, he is of Ghanaian descent, and he generated quite significant interest from a lot of clubs this off season. And so Kwachi, title winning chances. Looking at it from the point of significant changes that have come through for both teams. You look at Real Madrid. They brought in another coach, someone who's familiar with the La Liga. He's been away for a while. You have to consider that. You have to consider the dynamic between Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. And now they also having Jan Diomande. Then you look at Trent Alexander-Arnold. There's his position under threat because there's Denzel Dumfries now.
Yeah, and I think Dumfries suits Mourinho style football far more than Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah, Trent is more finesse. I mean, Denzel Dumfries is more campy, if I can put it that way.
I saw someone pointed out the pattern of Mourinho about how when he comes in, he always has to find a player to
very robust.
Yeah. No, I mean, he always has to find a player to pick out and to use as a scapegoat for everybody. And it's a pattern that he's done repeatedly throughout his clubs. And I'm just looking at Trent's situation in particular. I'm just wondering, doesn't track back, can't defend. I'm just wondering and he wasn't as expensive a signing. People were worried that he was probably going to ostracize Vinicius, and that was going to be his big statement. But given that Vinicius has signed a new deal and there's no reason to now cause trouble with your star player, I wonder if that could be Trent. But that's just on the side. Looking at the team that he's put together, I still think the biggest missing piece is the fact that he couldn't get Rodri. I don't trust that Real Madrid midfield of Tchouaméni and Camavinga and Valverde.
Bernardo Silva too.
I mean, if it's a Bernardo Silva from Man City, I'd be surprised if he's able to give them energy within that midfield. I think it's the energy that they're looking for. I can definitely see Valverde giving it. I don't trust Tchouaméni as a holding midfielder. I don't think Camavinga is still going to be used as a fullback like he was during the during Ancelotti's days.
But now they have Kukurea, so
yeah, so that means you should probably see more of Camavinga in midfield. But I still don't think that midfield is all the quality and it needs to. I don't think they've ever properly replaced Toni Kroos since he left. Definitely. And
how many Toni Krooses do you have in this world right now?
Oh no, that's fair. But then they did that with Toni Kroos and Modric, and I think Ceballos too is on his way out. If I'm right, I think he's looking for a deal at
practically
Betis.
On his final.
Yeah, and it happens to a lot of the Real Madrid players. It feels like not everyone can be like a Nacho or Lucas Vazquez, where it
can play multiple positions.
Even Sergio Roberto told that in there. Understand the dynamic within the team. Understand that you're probably not going to be first choice, but you are going to hang around and try and hold, like, fill up, not necessarily fill up gaps, but then you are going to be around and try and playing different positions and try and adapt and do whatever the team needs you to do, and not necessarily have the ego of some of the superstars who are going to come in and think that I play for Real Madrid now, I'm at the top level. And that means a lot of the players who used to be on the fringes around there have found their way to leave. And I think there was a point where even Odegaard was around there. But if you look at some of the talent that's just leaving Real Madrid now, even over the last 10 years, so they had Kubo was there. I still think Odegaard could have made it at Real Madrid. I don't think he needed to go to Arsenal, especially after all he had gone to do at Sociedad. Playing under Xabi Alonso, he had proven that he could be a quality midfielder, but he decided not to stay. You have Ceballos leaving, and now you are left with players who are, I would not demotivated, but they have players who haven't been good enough but can't be taken out of the squad. And that's
fair point.
Yeah, and that's
Tchouaméni hasn't really lived up to expectation. Camavinga, something similar.
Yeah, and they've had a few wrongs in the transfer market. I don't think Diamande is necessarily going to be as bad as Hazard was. When they brought Hazard in, I think he was 7 goals for them. But I mean, he was mainly blighted by injuries. But Real Madrid themselves have tried their best not to overspend within the transfer market. Ever since the Hazard thing went wrong, they've pivoted immediately and tried to go for free transfers. Not all the free transfers to have worked. That's why I look at someone like Konate that they brought in, and how are they certain that Konate isn't going to necessarily, the problems of Konate isn't going to necessarily look similar to what happened with David Alaba. And Dumfries is a quality player. I'm not going to dispute that, but if I sound like Trent coming in, he doesn't necessarily fit the system. Bernardo Silva has definitely looked good within, but I just think there's an imbalance in the team. I think they have a lot of quality up front, especially if Rodrigo comes back, and now they have Rodrigo, Mbappe, Vinicius, Diamande. I mean, but at least for now, he's still within the squad, and he'll still have to. And then they have players on the fringes like Endrick and Alfredo Santano, who's been sent out on loan. Mm-hmm. But but then you go into the midfield, and now it's if he can somehow fit in Ada Goulet there, that changes the dynamic of that midfield. If he can somehow find a way to play him at the creative number 10, and that means you just need 2 midfielders behind him, and that's where I can probably play someone like Valverde and even Bernardo Silva. Or if you need more aggression, you can bring Camavinga in or Tchouaméni, and that gives you different options within that. But I just think the squad itself isn't as imbalanced. They have a very aging back line. They have a midfield that doesn't have enough depth, and they have too much quality, but the quality itself is not. I know that it doesn't fit together, but then it's.
I think you don't see proper synergy.
Yes, that's the phrase I'll for. There's just something about the way they connect. Yeah, it's a business joint. Like, it's quality, but it's just. Yeah.
It's not a seamless fit.
Yeah, it's not as clear as Mbappe plays up front, and you keep seeing this part. It didn't happen at the World Cup. That's why I'm also interested in seeing. I don't think Mourinho looks at Deschamps, but people always thought that to get the best out of Mbappe, like the way it was at the 2018 World Cup, you had to pair him with maybe a big man. I think this time at the World Cup, we've seen that he's capable of leading the line if he has. But I think the World Cup, what they had that was a line that was fluid and just made sense. Like Olise, Doué, Dembele, they can play across either positions, they can swap. Even if an Mbappe goes wide, you have someone who can come to the middle. Like, that just made sense. What I remember from Madrid from at least last season, 2 seasons ago, is you see a lot of the players drifting towards the left whenever the ball was forward. You see both Vinicius and Mbappe trying to drift towards the left, and then
made that side very congested.
Yeah, and there's no one within the middle when they need to pick up the ball and then score. So then that's what's worried them throughout the season. But this needs to be a season where they actually start winning trophies. 2 seasons without a trophy. I think they won the Super Cup in their first year. Yeah. I think Mbappe won the Super Cup at Madrid, if I remember well. But 2 seasons without a trophy for a club like Real Madrid, I don't think it's will go on for
Aren't you
long.
worried about Trent Alexander-Arnold? Is it very possible that he won't start for Real Madrid?
I am, but
because one of their friendly games, I saw him being played as a right full back with Denzel Dumfries playing high up the pitch, but that was before they brought in Yan Diomande.
Yeah,
and like you mentioned, you also have to factor in Ade Goulet, Bernardo Silva can line up there, but he would naturally drift into the middle. So if he drifts into the middle, or you have Yan Diomande playing out wide, or Ade Goulet playing there, how many right-sided defenders can you play between in one particular setup? So it will have to be between Denzel Dumfries and Trent Alexander-Arnold. One has to sit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to sound like a salty Liverpool fan, but be careful what you wish for. And
you do sound like a salty Liverpool.
No, it was you had everything. He had everything at Liverpool, and he chose. I don't blame him for choosing the challenge of Real Madrid, but I also think he should have looked at the team in itself. I see there's been a lack of stability at Real Madrid over the last couple of seasons. Ancelotti came and probably calmed that down, but they've had spells where they made very erratic decisions. You go back to the appointment of Lopetegui and then his sacking, and then he brought in Soriano. Like, they've had times where it hasn't all fit. Real Madrid doesn't necessarily operate like the way I would say a club like Man City plans, where you know that Semenyo, even though Guardiola is the one bringing him, long term there's a vision for how he fits within the club.
To your point, they haven't gone 2 straight seasons trophyless. Yeah, they won the Super Cup, UEFA Super Cup, and then they won the Intercontinental Cup. And so Mbappe has won 2 titles with Real Madrid.
Yeah, so it hasn't been all, but both those trophies
on the fringes.
Yeah, and they come from a Champions League win which he was not part of.
Yeah,
he just happens to be the beneficiary of the fact that he's joining a team that has just won the Champions League. So for himself, he has a lot. He hasn't brought a trophy to the Bernabeu, and the Bernabeu. But I think when he came in, the Bernabeu wasn't fully in use now at the Camp Nou. Now that he's in, the stadium it's a brand new stadium. I mean, the same stadium, but it's a renovated stadium that hasn't yet seen them winning a trophy. And that at a club like Real Madrid, especially when you now consider the fact that the club he left has won the Champions League back to back. And
that's a good look.
Yeah, and now he is now looking to justify himself in club football. Because if you look at all the trophies he's won so far, he won them at Paris, where they were the best team within the league. Like you said, the Super Cup and the Intercontinental come from when Real Madrid won the Champions League without him. What has he proven at club level?
Oh, I mean, he's proven a lot.
He's been top scorer in a lot of competitions.
Yeah, one back-to-back Pichichis. From a club standpoint, he hasn't necessarily dominated.
If he had even done what Dembele had done and won the Champions League with them and won the Ballon, like
individually, he's done his bit. Individually, he's done his bit. Because, I mean, you were the top scorer in the Champions League. You were the top scorer in the league.
Top scorer in the World Cup.
Top scorer at the World Cup. Individually, he's done his bit. But
don't you see the pattern now? We can assume that one competition, it's bad luck. You were the top scorer, you scored the most goals, but you couldn't win. You go 3 straight competitions where you end up being the top scorer, taking the glory for yourself, but your team doesn't even make the final of either. The La Liga, they were not competitive. They didn't make the final of the Champions League. They didn't make the final of the World Cup. But somehow you end up with all the glory as a top scorer. Like, once is a pattern, twice is a coincidence, 3 times. And this is the other countless example since he's been at Real Madrid. And it's not that he's purposely trying to play for himself, but it almost seems as if for the team to function, it needs to function through him. And that means a lot of pressure is on him. And that means in turn, you need to not just score a lot of goals, but you need to score important goals. And that's where the distinction has to come in. And you see a similar pattern with Harry Kane.
And there was this bit about, he said before the World Cup that he was more willing to drop back and be a bit more committed to defense than he had been over the past 2 years or in recent seasons. And I was just thinking to myself, if he had done this, Xabi Alonso would still have had his job.
Yeah, I mean,
and there's also the bit about he needing to do a little bit less. You don't need to always have the ball to be impactful. I mean, with your speed and the threat that you possess, once you start running, you take 2 defenders with you. Once he starts running, he'll take 2 defenders with him. And that opens things up a little bit for his other teammates to be able to do, to be able to play very well. And that's what Luis Enrique means by team-oriented kind of football, where you are not looking to just make a run when you can sense that, I can score from this position. And not necessarily where once you sense that, I can't score from this position, I'm just walking and I'm not doing practically anything. In that sense, you had the team.
Yeah, and it's not even saying that he has been instinctive, but imagine that I'm not saying that I've seen this happen, but imagine a scenario where Mbappe was in the box, and rather than moving towards the ball, he moved away from it because he saw that teammates would probably be in a better position to get the ball. Like, he probably scored less goals, but then there are just certain scenarios where he
kind
would
of
have
like the Ronaldo thing at the World Cup.
Yeah. They are
you
not
could
trying.
tell that the ball was coming towards Bruno Fernandes, but your man, instead of making that decoy run, taking defenders with him and creating that space for Bruno, he was standing there waiting for the ball to get to him. And DR Congo, they read it like, at this point in his career, everyone knows the trick. Send it to their wings, let them deliver a cutback, and Ronaldo will be ready to pounce.
Yeah.
So
when you're 40 now, your movement is not as good.
Yeah. So if you train, and rehearse, practice all over and over, defending the cutback, 90% of the time you'll be able to keep him in check.
Yeah, it's exactly, and like you said, because of it's a good trick, but once you are 41, 42 trying to do the same trick, there'll be a point where even players who are probably not as who probably wouldn't have been able to keep up with you when you were in your prime, the older you get, the more, like you said, the more readable it is for the person defending, and they're able to block that. And even though Mbappe is not necessarily at that age, everyone knows what he wants to do when he's either in the box or he has the ball or he gets the ball into the box. And that also makes it easier for him to defend. And that's just where there's if you remember a very clip from PSG, there was a point where I think he was walking and he wanted a certain pass given to him.
Yeah,
the pass was just continued walking. And eventually I think there was a ball across the front of the box where if he had just continued his run, he would have had a tapping. And he's trying to roll back on that. I'll give him credit. When he plays for France, the Champs will not tolerate that. So that one, it doesn't even come up. It's at Real Madrid where there's a sense that the players are bigger than whichever individual manager comes in. Like the Galacticos are bigger than the players that come in. And that in a sense will mean that, rather than, because Xabi Alonso was just trying to get them to work harder and just be a more effective team, rather than rely on what they were doing throughout seasons and rely on individual moments from Ronaldo or from Vinicius to win you games. That's just all Xabi Alonso was trying to do, and they struggled to adapt to that.
Manuel, just a quick one before we move over to Barcelona and take a break, our second break. What would be your ideal Real Madrid setup under Jose Mourinho? Your starting lineup?
If he's able to get everything right, I think the front line picks itself. It's Mbappe, Vinicius, Diamande.
Yeah.
You look at the midfield, I think Avle has to play in there.
Is he a must have in the starting lineup?
He's not a must have in the starting lineup, but I look at the otherwise what I see is Tchouaméni, Valverde, Bernardo Silva. Which again, if you had Bernardo Silva from 10 years ago, wow. If you had Monaco Bernardo Silva, that's incredible. He could Avle could learn from him. But this is not robotic, but this is like tactical Bernardo Silva who's learned under Pep Guardiola, who is going to come and try and, when he can, at least in Man City, try and help them keep the ball. This is Real Madrid under Mourinho, so I'm assuming that he's just going to have to release the ball quickly to Mbappe and try and start the transition. But he will do the job he's given very well. And he may not necessarily give you a different dynamic. And otherwise you're going to be doing what Mourinho was doing in his previous team, where it's like, all of you work hard. Give it to Drogba and Lampard, and then let them see what they can do. Because one of the things that I've seen that key is he doesn't also necessarily believe in these repeated patterns of play. You see how Guardiola can get the ball, then get the cutback, and it's almost like you're seeing the same goal every week. When you can trust that these are the best players in the world, work hard, defend properly, get the ball to them quickly and in the right positions, and they will make the difference. And throughout his career, he's had talented players where, and I think that the difference has now been that now that he's gone to teams where he hasn't necessarily had that, and he's had to find a structural system, like how Pochettino had to find a structure to make Tottenham look good, even though they didn't have a good team. He came in and then tried to rely on the individuals. And at Real Madrid, I think he has the quality to do that. But modern football will probably catch up to him. And if you look at the way Hansi Flick is playing, having to risk his high line to then have other results in other parts of the field, meaning that you can press quick and all these different things. Mm-hmm. If he's not willing to adapt to that, it means that, again, you need to be good in transition. You need to be solid. Your striker needs to score 30, 40 goals a season. He has all the elements for that. It's whether or not he can get them to play the way he wants to play. And then you go back to the Mourinho problem of at some point something will go wrong. At least that's how it's been for the last few years. At some point, something will go wrong. He will be very dramatic about it to the press, and he will want to talk to Florentino Perez, and maybe he needs a defender, so he intentionally picks 6 players on the bench, or he does some of these things where he's very good at deflecting when they lose. Even when they lose, he'll find a way to either blame it on the referee or the person who chose it. Like, he'll find a way to create problems, and if the players stop responding to that, like if you look at the players he had at Porto, they were willing to die for him. Like, if you look at Inter was one season. Yeah. If you see the Chelsea players, Inter was one season. But if you see the emotion that when he was leaving, he hasn't had that recently. I say the closest that was maybe Roma.
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, so you're saying that it's not that he's old school, but the players
have connect with him. That connect. Now, these players need love.
They are of the older generation. A different
generation.
And now they're dealing with Gen Zs who
they're just who is the manager? Mourinho. And who does he man? Like, they don't even know what Mourinho has achieved. I mean, obviously, I'm exaggerating slightly, but
I'm talking about the players.
Yeah, no, I mean, but the players. Some of them don't really know what he's achieved. Okay, he won a Champions League in 2004 Porto. Like, you get me? Yeah. Like, he beat the Champs Monaco and they don't know certain context. They just know maybe he's Mourinho.
They just know the statistics, but
they know the statistics. And it's when the players didn't even know who he was, but they knew that this was this guy coming from Porto. He had won the Champions League. He wants to win. And that's one thing I've seen Mbappe speaking about. He's started using that this season we have to win. I don't know if Mourinho has got through to him, but he needs a different type of an old school mentality that seems to be fading now. These players need love, and they need put their arm around the neck, and it'll be okay. Don't worry, eventually.
Yeah, I remember Thierry Henry made this statement that during the time he was coaching at Montreal Impact in the MLS, he dropped the player. He didn't include him in the starting lineup, and I think he was doing lunch or something, and an off day. The player walked up to him and he was like, "Why did you drop me?" And he said at that moment he had to check himself, because here was this young, Gen Z kind of player demanding to know why he got dropped from the starting lineup. And this was Thierry Henry, who came from the era where you dare not walk up to the manager and demand why you got dropped from the starting lineup. No way. So he said he had to check himself and realize that, okay, this guy is from a different generation. They do things differently. So the way I would have been addressed when I was playing, that's not the same way I should address this guy. So he got him to sit down. Then he explained why he played in a certain way and why he needed to drop him. Before it started trickling in, and the player got the whole gist of it, and that issue died down. But do you see Mourinho being able to do this consistently? Because there are a lot of mouths to feed in that Real Madrid forward line, especially when it comes to someone who has a bombastic personality like Vinicius Jr., knowing very well about those comments that Mourinho made after the Benfica Real Madrid game, that whole racism issue, that Vinicius Jr. should know how to celebrate, and he more or less was the one who instigated the Benfica fans to come at him. So that's one. If Mourinho, they start the season and he starts benching him and all of those things, trust me, Vinicius Jr., you see how explosive he is with his attitude. It will pop up. and it will become a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just the fact that he signed a new deal. That's why I don't think you go after Vinicius. But if I'm being right, Vinicius is he's
Bombastic.
prime. No, exactly. Yeah, he's a prime personality and the prime type of profile that Mourinho would use to make a statement. Because when he gets to Real Madrid, the thing is, he needs to be a bit more like the way I'd see Arteta is now. And you see that the way Arteta tries, he needs to be less like Fergie. I'm trying to imagine how many players from this modern era and the way they're behaving could have played in Fergie's Man United, and how much of what they are doing that he would have tolerated, and to what point even someone like Vinicius and the way he
I mean that stance that he pulled in the Classico when
Javi was talking,
that would have been it under Alex Ferguson. That would have been
Forlan was sold for less. There are certain things you can't do, and that's where Mourinho needs to now understand that, okay, I might be talking to a player and he won't respond to me, and he'll go and post it on social media.
That's true.
yeah, and it's now like stuff. Do I respond or do I understand that for the dynamic? And he's the type of person where he thinks he needs to protect other players like bad nut. He's a very bad nut. Get the bad nut out. Bad nut, get the bad nut out. And it's Real Madrid. These players are worth 100, 200 million pounds here on like 500,000 pounds a week. You can't, every time you get obsessed with play, you can't just push them to the side. Like, he's done that a lot of clubs. Even Man United and Luke Shaw. They had this. Pogba. If he feels like he wants to make a point, he can use players to make a point. And that's why I'm saying this era, it doesn't work anymore. That's why at first it used to take 3 years for things to go wrong with Mourinho. And then you've noticed that it got shorter and shorter. Second time at Chelsea, how do you call it?
6 months.
If you go, then Spurs, I think he got a full season. Did he?
No, because he got sacked a week before the Carabao Cup final. And the Carabao Cup final takes place in the middle of the season.
No, I think he didn't go through the whole COVID season. I think he survived. I think the season when they brought him in the middle of the season. No,
they brought him at the start of the season.
Brought him in at the start of the season.
So he didn't last the full season because I think it was Conte before.
Was Conte? Conte was. Yeah. Anyway, I'll go check. But I think he lasted the season. I think he got through the entire COVID season, the 2019-20. And then at the start of the next season, but the life cycle has gotten shorter and shorter for Mourinho since because there's less room to tolerate these things with, the more expensive the assets get and the less they are willing to listen to you, the more you have to now try and, indulge them and try and find a player that works for them.
So for you, your ideal starting lineup would be Yan Diomande, Mbappe, Vinicius Jr. I mean, that's pretty much.
Yeah, I put Goulet in there, Valverde.
Okay, so
Valverde.
In your midfield, Goulet, Valverde, and
if they had Rodri, I play. I'd want someone who holds a bit better. And I think Tchouaméni holds better. I like the box to box movement of
Tchouaméni, Valverde, other Goulet. Okay, that's a good. But if I'm Rodri, why on earth would I want to play for Mourinho if I've already been run down into the ground by Diego Simeone, and I'm 30 years old, coming off an ACL, 2 years off an ACL. You don't want to be playing under Mourinho where you'll be running around, demanding, physically demanding style. I understand why the Barca move makes sense. Or the link to Barca makes sense because with Barca, the ball will be the object doing the running more than the man, the positioning and all. If you're playing with Pedri, De Jong, Gavi, Dani Olmo, you don't need to be doing a lot of running. You need to just position yourself well, spray the passes around, make interceptions, make a few blocks, and that's just about it. But with Mourinho's system, you have to be running around, seriously running around. And this man is 30 years old. He's played a lot of football. And he's coming off an ACL. Rodri, if he makes that move to
on paper,
Barcelona, I understand it.
The Barca moves makes more sense. But I think if we're talking about that old school mentality.
Managed Spurs from November 2019. So he came in after a manager was sacked to April 2021. So it lasted a full season. Yeah.
I mean, technically not. But I mean, it lasted longer than. I mean, technically not. Because he came in half a season and was sacked in like half of the next season. So
like a season?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So
he replaced Pochettino. And he got sacked 6 days before the 2021 Carabao Cup final.
Which is both strange decisions because Pochettino had just got them to a Champions League final.
Yeah.
And when he was sacked he had just got them to a Carabao Cup final.
In the Real Madrid defense, who are you picking?
Konate and Hausen? They have to
There's Rudiger to...
No. I'm
just giving...
I probably think Rudiger, maybe Militao, but they are the same type of player.
Rudiger, Militao, Huijsen, Ibrahima Konate. Is it Gonzalo Garcia?
No.
The Spanish centre back. I'll get
Gonzalo Garcia. No, I think Gonzalo Garcia is the
striker.
The Fulham striker. I think Asensio.
Yes, Asensio.
Yeah.
Asensio. Raul Asensio.
Do not rate him at all, so we can also park him to the side. I think maybe...
So 5 centre backs. So which one are you starting?
Probably Hausen and Militao.
Yeah. Okay, so fullbacks?
Fullbacks... Trent? No. I'd probably go Dumfries and...
Cucurella.
Yeah, Cucurella. He'll be an interesting addition to see what he does at Real Madrid.
Yeah, but we definitely know Courtois is starting in goal. This is the Republic of Football on Citi 97.3 FM. My name is Yao Ejemita. I just heard from Manuel Angelo Kwache. In a few minutes, we'll be taking our second break. When we return, we'll talk. We have to touch quickly on the Barcelona issue, then run out of the studio because we have to pick the updates from the MPP regional executive elections. And so, Kwache, just a quick one on FC Barcelona. We've talked extensively on Real Madrid, and I know the Barca fans will forgive me for this one. So we need to speak a little bit about FC Barcelona before we end the show. But just a quick comment, a few comments from YouTube. Tete Eric 7161. He says, watch out for Joao Pedro and Robert Sanchez this season. And Maxwell Efia W7M, he says, I see Man City winning tomorrow by 2-1. Semenyo and Haaland to score. So definitely referring to the FA Community Shield. Then Ismail Ibrahim, he asks, why is United playing as if there's nothing to lose? He's obviously referring to the friendly game between between AC Milan and Manchester United. The update is that as at the 67th minute, AC Milan to Manchester United 2. Last comment. This is also from Filippo Lika. He says there are 2 academy boys on the fringes to join the senior team in central defensive positions for Real Madrid. So, Kwache, let me have your thoughts quickly on FC Barcelona. Let's wrap the show up.
Yeah, they've been interesting. They've won back-to-back league titles. They haven't been able to stretch that dominance into the Champions League, and I think that's probably the next stage that they're looking at. I think that in terms of the league itself, I definitely think Barcelona are probably going to win the league again. I think they have a more balanced team than Real Madrid. They still have a lot of players who are also coming back from injury. One problem that we've spoken about is the front line, where they look like they're missing a striker now with Lewandowski going to the MLS and with Ferran Torres leaving. But it looks like they're interested in Luis Suarez. I've seen that the Sporting Luis Suarez. He was at the World Cup. For Colombia. Interesting player.
What about the Julian Alvarez deal? Do you see it working out?
Atletico have said from the start that they are not selling, and we saw Newcastle sell at the end of last season after going through the whole window saying that they were not interested in selling Isak. But Atletico have no reason to sell Julian Alvarez. I don't see how it benefits them to lose Julian Alvarez, especially to a direct rival, for an amount that they don't think is worth the value of their player. And Alvarez doesn't strike me as even a Guimaraes, because you saw Guimaraes apparently spoke to the hierarchy of Newcastle in not unfriendly terms, but he made it very clear that I want to go to Arsenal. I'm sure Alvarez would probably make it known that he'd like a transfer to Barcelona, but he doesn't strike me as the type of player who is going to...
I mean, even at the World Cup, he was discussing it.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I haven't liked about the Barcelona players. You've seen Yamal speak about, you've seen other players talk about how about Julian Alvarez, and it's almost like they're trying to
pressure Atletico Madrid to let him go.
Yeah, I mean, but they had created a narrative that this player clearly wants to be at our club, so why don't you let him go? And that's the last stage of what I don't like about the two Real Madrid Barcelona clubs, where it's okay if you think you are the pinnacle, but then there's an arrogance that comes with it that's almost like there's a food chain, and at the end of the day,
they need to be fed.
Yes, and at the end of the day, we get the best players if we want them.
Okay.
And I think other teams should be allowed to hold on to their best players if they want. I think that Barca, especially if they get Rodri and they're able to get a striker, Alvarez is definitely the one who fits the best. But I think that they can definitely get someone who can, if they can get not necessarily a world-class striker, but if they can get an elite striker to fit within the team. Striker. Yeah, I definitely think that they can definitely challenge PSG for the Champions League this season, stop them going 3 in a row. I think they are definitely at that level, like I said, especially with the addition of Rodri.
Okay. So that was Manuel Angelo Kwache of the City Sports Desk that you heard. My name is Yao Ejemita, and this is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of football of the Republic of Football on City 97.3. It was a pleasure coming your way. I sat in for your regular host, Isaac Gabriel Ofer, the birthday man. Happy birthday, belated birthday to him, and happy belated birthday to our man handling everything on the YouTube channel, social media stuff, doing a lot of great stuff behind the scenes. Edwin Kofi, my brothers that I went to America with, my Boga brothers. And so that's where we end the show. Yes, a pleasure coming your way. My name is Yao Ejemita. This was the Republic of Football. Keep enjoying our programs.
City